So anyway, this is, I mean, you know, this film was made possible by all the amazing courage and advocacy, actually, of many of the people up here. So I just, first of all, I just wanted to thank them and give them a round of applause for it's amazing to work with. And this isn't over by any means, but let's start with your questions. So, any questions?
Well, why don't you guys start with maybe how you got started with the film? Was there a moment of inspiration for you, and how did you come to work together?
How do, okay, well, we were looking.
Actually, Amy came to us with the idea for the film. She had a neighbor who had had an issue, and so we met with, and she encouraged us to meet with her neighbor. Amy lives up in Seattle, and said, they're going to be in LA, you got to meet them. And Amy's very persistent. And we met them, and we agreed that it was an incredibly interesting topic, and started looking into it.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, are there any questions from the audience? Yeah.
How did you guys work together as partners? So did you split up storylines in different areas of the country? Did you collaborate closely on everything? How did you work together?
Well, yeah, this was a very ambitious undertaking. I mean, this is an industry that really almost no one knows anything about. It is, I mean, we've made a lot of investigative films, and we've never encountered something where people, you know, within the industry, like doctors, most doctors don't even know how these processes work. And also no one was, until you've been harmed and you start talking to people, no one knows how extensive this is, because what happens is people who often don't even know they're harmed by medical devices, or if they do, they think they're the only one, or they're too ill to even reach out to other people. So this is one of the great secrets in this country, that there's hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of people who've been harmed by devices and no one knows about it. So it was, what we wanted to do with this film is not just focus on, well, it's one device, or even Essure, it's not just one device. It's many, many devices are putting people at risk. So we needed to go out in all directions. And so, yeah, absolutely, we really worked as a team. We have a wonderful team, other people who aren't up on stage. Amy Herdy was sort of the point on this. She would go out and, she's one of the best investigative reporters in the country.
Yeah.
This is no joke. She beats the New York Times to stories quite often.
Yeah.
So anyway, she would go out, she would establish contact, and we would reach out in other ways. And then we interviewed many, many people, many, many experts. And that was the other thing we found out about this, is that people were afraid to talk, especially, people within the industry. Like, off camera, they would tell us what was, the real horror stories, but on camera, oftentimes they'd say, look, I can't talk about this. So, this was a real effort. And a lot of this, the potential for change here is a lot because of people like Tammy and Angie and her team are really getting this story out and starting to make change. So it was very much a team effort.
And just to sort of loop back around to that, when you reached out to people who you wanted to feature in your film, maybe someone else can answer this question also, but was there hesitation? I know people are working really hard to get their stories out, but it's also really difficult to share something so personal on camera and trust where it's going to go. Can you talk about what that was like?
Yeah, actually, yes, I'd love to hear from you, your perspective, because we approached Tammy and said, would you talk? And obviously her story has very personal elements. And so how did you feel about that?
The problem with MASH is 9 out of 10 attorneys will tell you not to talk to social media, of course not to talk to the major media, that it can harm your litigation. But it got to the point that I had so many women calling, losing their husbands, their families, their jobs, and wanting to commit suicide, that the story was bigger than me. And when it come to someone that cared, like Kirby and both Amy's, it made it easier to tell our story. And, secrets kill. And this story needs to be told along with the Essure. It got to the problem where the device wasn't as big as our lives.
Do any of you all want to comment about talking about something, I mean, so personal and
This is Teresa Hershey, and I met her throughout the DaVinci deal, and she's a very strong woman. I admire her very greatly. She started Unplug the robot, which has connected many of us together, and it's been an emotional support. And, just finding others. Unfortunately, we don't want to hear of others, but it is nice to know that we're not alone, and that, we have somebody to talk to who understands what we've been through. And I want to thank you. We're honored that you've, decided to do this. This is a devastating ordeal. There's been mothers, who've lost their children, fathers who've lost, their children, and wives and husbands and marriages we've seen in our group, and it's devastating, and somebody needs to take notice and do something. They're not being truthful. We find new things all the time. We have a group that we work with, and it really is an eye-opening experience, and I'm just really glad that we're very grateful and honored that you have decided to do this. It means a lot, and with all of you, this can't keep going on. Something's got to change.
that's a great cue. Is Stephanie here? Okay, Stephanie, can you say what everybody here can help do right now? Stephanie's with Pieces Loud. She's running our outreach campaign, so she's just going to say something really quick.
Yeah, so if you're interested in being connected to find ways to support the work of the Essure women and all of the other women on, in the film and on stage here, if you text the number 33222, you text the word EDGE, like the bleeding edge, to 33222. We can text you back ways to take action. You can also find us on social media at Bleeding Edge Doc or bleedingedgedoc.com, and we have a whole campaign where we'll be trying to support the work and advance the work, of the women here.
And I want to add to that, in addition, because we're a Netflix film and it's amazing, but Netflix puts out a lot of movies. So whatever you can do to just sort of virally market this, it would be hugely helpful. So just tell people to watch the movie. When it comes out on Netflix, put it on their queue list or whatever it's called. And just, if all of you do that, that's actually a really important, sophisticated political action, actually. So you're sort of our marketing campaign, so that would be super helpful. And then I actually want to ask Angie and any of the Essure women, they'd like to talk about what motivated them to come forward.
Gosh, when we were approached by you guys, like you said, it's hard to trust people. We were approached by so many people, so to trust blindly that you were going to do something positive with our story and not in the opposite direction, that was our first challenge, but to see what you've done has just really been mind-blowing, and like you said, to spread the word, especially to the medical community, because it took us forever to find even one physician to believe us, and Dr. Novoa has been our hero from the beginning. He came into our group and believed us and helped us launch this and spread the word amongst other physicians, and we really need the medical community to watch this and understand that this is going on. They don't know the regulations, how the FDA regulates things. So this is really important for the medical community to see.
Are you all able to stay after the screening to maybe answer some more questions? We're just running out of time.
You want to, yeah, why don't you?
I was actually a DaVinci robot, and because I was a young single mom, they told me that I would be a perfect candidate because I could go right back to work, I lose no downtime, and then I was out of work, and then 10 weeks later, I had the same thing where my lower bowel prolapse, just 10 weeks, so 10 weeks after I should have been back to work, I had to go through a full hysterectomy, I had to go through a whole new open surgery. I lost my house, lost my car, because I couldn't go back to work. I mean, it was just absolutely devastating.
All for surgery that they do perfectly well
Yeah.
without a robot. Like, there's no problem. You didn't need to move it to a different kind of way of doing
But
it.
the marketing drew people in.
But the marketing drew people in.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of it. They told me, oh, you're perfect, you're the perfect candidate for this. I was not. I should have just 6 weeks, regular, open surgery. It was it.
And this isn't a follow-up with a text, but we have, for products under PMA, like Essure, we have a bill in front of Congress that's sitting in the House right now called the Medical Device Safety Act of 2017. It basically will restore our rights to litigation, and we need people to contact your representatives in the House and also the Senate and demand that they support this and they back this.
Yes.
So,
If I could just say a couple words. And related to most of the GYN subjects, the DaVinci, the vaginal meshes, and Essure. I've trained through all of those, and we have seen the problems with them from the very beginning. In the medical community, there's 3 major factors that affect medical care, and that is the arrogance of the doctor, the ignorance of the doctor, and the money that motivates the doctor. The ACOG, which has 58,000 members, board-certified OBGYNs, knows of these problems, and yet has allowed it to happen the way that it's happened without being policed or monitored. That's why no one knows about it, because we don't want to know about it as OBGYNs. The issue with the DaVinci colon prolapsing through the vagina occurs with the Essure even when it's done laparoscopically, because of the problems with the cuff itself and the autoimmune condition. That is a known fact, and we always recommend that you reinforce the vaginal cuff. But most of our colleagues that do DaVinci don't know anything about that, and they're not proficient enough to use the DaVinci, but it was a marketing tool. It is a device looking for a surgery, not a surgery looking for the device.
Oh, that's a good way of looking at it, yeah.
Essure, autoimmune problems, putting them in wrong, proficiency of doctors not knowing what they're doing, and the enormous amount of money that we can make for putting the devices in. We can make $100 a minute with the Essure, or we get paid $100 an hour for traditional tubal ligation. That's how much money we as OBGYNs get paid. You need to police us better than we're policing ourselves. That's what you need to do. And it's across all forms of OBGYN specialties. I don't want to talk about the other specialties. I'm telling you, as being an OBGYN, our specialty really sucks as far as policing ourselves and doing what's in the benefit of women. That's why I'm glad that I was part of this. It was an amazing, amazing documentary. I love it. I will be virally promoting it.
Thank you. Yes, please.